He's just about to come on stage now. Mr. Daniel Radcliffe!
Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much. That's an amazing welcome, especially from you. Thank you. I love you too, all of you individually. Thank you.
How's that for a response?
That's like the most emphatic response I've ever had when I walked into a room. Thank you. I really can't marry all of you.
So, my first question has to be honest with us. Have you been wandering around today in a Spider-Man outfit?
I haven't. No, I did wander around. I know, sorry, if you met a Spider-Man today, it wasn't me. I walked around, for those of you who haven't heard this, I walked around the San Diego Comic Con dressed as Spider-Man because it was, why not? And yeah, it was fantastic. But no, I didn't do that today, unfortunately.
Was it good being able to just be a punter and just see everything in that kind of
context? It was just because it seemed like, you know, I was going to Comic Con, so I didn't want to do that without being able to. It was my first time there. I didn't want to go there without experiencing the whole thing. And so yeah, it was. I mean, it was fantastic. And yeah, just the kind of overwhelming spirit of just everybody being able to celebrate whatever it is they love, you know, without having to in any way apologize for how much they love it, is sort of the best. You know, it's a wonderful spirit to have about a place.
Yeah. I think everyone can agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Ig's a quite a different character to many of the characters you played before. How did you feel about taking on quite a dark role?
Well, I mean, I think I've always enjoyed kind of darker material, and you know, since doing things like, I mean, the Potter films are very, very dark.
Yeah.
You know, they're throughout. I mean, it's and that's one of the things people love about them. And I think it's, you know, what I grew up watching and what I grew up kind of being interested in. And I think there's always something very healthy, and there's something great about as you know, about my job as an actor, that I can sort of very healthily explore the dark sides of characters and myself, and you know, all those sort of things. It's very good to be in touch with that. And in this film, you know, I got to have a lot of fun playing. I mean, that's the thing. I've played people before who are, I mean, Ig is you know, a good guy fundamentally. But he does things throughout the film at various times which you would be right to question him for, and are kind of morally very suspect. So but that's, you know, that was a huge amount of fun for me because I haven't really played too much of that kind of stuff before.
Yeah. Had you read the book before you were up for the role?
I hadn't. No, I read the book. Kind of, I read the script and met Alex, and then obviously went away and you know, very quickly tried to get through the book as fast as I could, so I could then go back with more information and more thoughts and sound more knowledgeable about it. But yeah, it was, you know, it's a fantastic book, and obviously we have, I'm sure there are many fans of the book here, and I'm sure, you know, there were, yeah, absolutely, and I really think you will love the film. You know, obviously, things have to change in adaptations, and stuff, you know, shifts around. But I think the impressive thing about this adaptation is that a lot of people would have come to a book like this, which is very, very funny and very dark, and is anchored by this incredible love story, and does all those things sort of equally and brilliantly, as well as being just very, very readable and compelling the whole way through. I think some people would have come to make that film and gone, well, you know, let's make this sort of the easy way, and let's just make it an out-and-out horror, or let's make it focus on the sort of black comedy elements of it. And you know, what Alex and Keith Bunin, who wrote the script, did was kind of just be completely fearless and say, no, if we're going to make this film, stuff is going to have to change in the book, but the essential essence of the book is that it is all those things and refuses to be tied down to one genre. And that's, you know, that's what I love about the film as well.
Is it true one of the first things you said to Alexandre Aja was that you thought it was very funny, and he was very adamant that it was not a comedy?
Well, yeah, I had maybe focused a little bit too much on the comedy in the first third of the script, and when I'd been reading it, I got really excited, particularly about that and the sequence where it goes into the hospital and gets and tries to get the horns removed. I just thought, well, that was really, really funny, and it is, and it's funny in the movie, but there was definitely a moment when I sat down with Alex and I was like, this is so funny. And he was like, yes, but it's not a comedy. And I was like, no, of course not. No, I didn't mean comedy. But no, he was, and also the first thing I said to him, I think one of the first things I said to him when I met him was that, because I knew that he had been picturing somebody kind of slightly older for the part, and I kind of sat down as soon as I met him and I was like, I know you think I'm too young for this. Let me take the next hour to tell you why that's not the case. and I think material like this, because it is weird, like it's a crazy movie, and that's one of the things that I love about it, and I think other people will as well, because it's different. But I think when in Alex's mind, to have somebody, it's the kind of material that attracts the people that it should, because the people that are passionate about it are the ones that end up going like, because I'm sure a lot of other actors might have read the script and gone, God, this is kind of weird, I don't know what this is. And as soon as I read it, I knew exactly the kind of film that I felt it could be and had the potential to be, and I just wanted to like jump on board with it as soon as I could.
Yeah.
I have been asked a lot recently like why I make such weird choices, and the only answer I can give is that they're not weird to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, because you had great success with The Woman in Black as well, and that's another supernatural kind of role. You're kind of drawn to that kind of stuff.
Well, I think I used to sort of answer this question by saying I don't think I am drawn to necessarily to fantasy, because if you look at Woman in Black and Horns and Potter and Frankenstein and all the things, they are all very different kinds of movies, but I've sort of been a little bit more honest with myself recently and gone, well, what is it actually? There is, because that is a lot in one career. That's a lot of fantasy stuff, and I think what I enjoy about it is that, particularly in a film like Horns, and I think The Woman in Black is another really good example of it, it gives you a chance to explore things thematically while doing really, really cool things with a story. So The Woman in Black is a film ostensibly about a guy trapped in a haunted house, but while you're having kind of the excitement and the terror of that ride and going on that journey, it's also a film about a guy grieving for his wife and searching for some proof of the afterlife, because if the afterlife is there, then his wife is still around somewhere. And in a film like Horns, it's obviously about a guy who is trying to get revenge for the death of his girlfriend and grows horns, but it's also about things that broader themes like being an outsider, or what happens to us when we lose the one we love. The chance to explore those really interesting themes while having kind of a rip-roaring good time at the same time is what I think I like about the genre. Yeah.
And tell us about the horns themselves. What was it like to wear the horns?
It was great. They were really easy to have on. I've done a bit of prosthetic work on Potter before with the hex makeup on the last film, and that was really that was tough. I remember, because it was one eye closed and my nose was covered and my mouth was mainly covered, and so that felt like that was really hard. So I was a bit worried about what the amount of prosthetics on this film was going to be. It was actually fine in the end. The horns themselves only took 20 minutes to put on by the end. I want to see everyone wearing them here next year, if that's if I can make that request. That's my great goal for the film. And then all the stuff, there are more extensive makeups towards the end of the film, which I don't want to give too much away about, but they were great. I mean, they were really, I was, again, sort of dreading them, and they took an amazingly short time to put on, and the work they achieved in that space of time was amazing. I mean, they are incredible. Mike Fields and Mike McCarthy, I always like to mention their names, because when people have saved you hours of grief in makeup chairs by just being amazing at their jobs, it's important to recognize that, I feel.
And did you wear the horns out anywhere unusual?
I didn't. I was going to for Halloween last year, the year that we made the movie, but then I sort of I fast forwarded a little bit in my imagination to later that night when it's not as funny anymore, and I want to go to bed, and now I have to try and unglue these things, and I just thought I'd break them, so I didn't want to have that on me. But I did. There was one point where I got really ill during filming, and a doctor had to come in to see me, and I was convinced like he was going to come in and be like, "Whoa, you have horns! Something's terribly wrong." But he just like came in and didn't bat an eyelid at all, which I found quite funny.
Nice. So are we able to throw it open to questions? Would anybody like to speak to Daniel? Ask him a question. Will you marry me? It's not a valid question, by the way.
Okay then, I will be the man with the mic. Let's start with this young lady here first.
Hiya.
First off, thank you. I don't think I'd have survived adolescence without you.
Oh, thank you. You're more than welcome.
And what would you prefer, a question about horns, or can I ask you one about Harry Potter?
You can ask me anything you like.
Okay, in that case. Out of the book, what is your favourite mythical creature from Harry Potter?
Let me think. It's weird. I always feel like I don't have interesting enough answers to these questions, and that I always let people down by my like lack of basic knowledge. But let me think. I mean, I think one of the most effective creatures in there, like not that I would like to have this as a pet, or but like I think the basilisk, just because I have before Harry Potter was like a thing in my life, as it was in all of ours, but like it was my memories kind of prior to making the films of Harry Potter include like my dad did a terrifying voice of the basilisk when he read that to me, so I think that's probably what's still making it stick out in my head. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll ask another question then. I will go to this lady here.
It's a question about horns. You said it's kind of like black comedy. Would you say it's similar to the comedy in What If?
No, sorry, whereabouts are you? There you are, thank you. No, I would say it's much darker than that. It's more around, like, What If is kind of that sort of charming comedy of two people sort of flirting with each other and getting to know each other. This is more kind of the comedy of people saying terrible things to each other and having awful truths revealed to them. And a lot of the comedy in this is derived from the fact that Ig's horns make people reveal truths about themselves. So he kind of, you saw a bit in that clip in the trailer of I go to the doctor to try and get the horns removed, and the doctor is just like asking me if I want to take drugs with him, and like and he's asking then start. I mean, that whole sequence is brilliant and about sort of the idea of what the world would become if everybody was completely unfiltered all the time. And the answer is like it would be a terrible place. But there is a lot of fun, I think, being dealt with that in the film. It's actually also one of the hardest things I've ever filmed was in horns, and it's completely something that I did not expect would be difficult. But there's a scene in the hospital. There's one moment where there's a very young girl, like a 4-year-old child, and she is in the scene, and in the scene people are swearing at each other and just being vile to each other in a very hilarious way. But it was one of the most awkward things I've ever had to do, is like swear horribly in front of a young child. And because there's like a 4-year-old kid and they have no idea what's going on. Like, even if you explain it to them, as far as they're concerned, it's like they hear the word action and then everyone becomes terrible people in the world. And so you're sort of trying to give some context to that, but it was, it was very rough. But she has a line in the film and she's amazing, so.
Okay, we're still in the middle here, Daniel, and we got this lady's going to stand up and ask you a question.
He's made me stand up, thanks.
Hello, thank you.
Hi. I've never heard you do an American accent before, which I thought was quite interesting. But I was wondering, did you have any formal training for it? And also, did they ask you to make the character American, or was that your own interpretation of it?
Oh no, I mean, he was American in the book, and so I didn't want to, like, I think it would have been much more controversial if I'd played him English. Like, I think some people would have been very unhappy about that. And I've always enjoyed doing accents. I feel like a lot of my American accent was learned by osmosis of just, we are suffused with a lot of American TV shows, and probably also a combination of like watching Friends and stuff like that as a kid and shows like that. But also, I worked with I've actually been told by several people that my American accent sounds similar to Chris Columbus, who directed the first 2 Harry Potter movies. So that would kind of make a lot of sense, that was one of the first Americans I spent a lot of time around, and so I've heard people say that, so possibly that. But I also did do a bit of, brush up work on it, so took some lessons and just to make sure there was some sounds I was like absolutely getting right, and I think it's, I'm happy with it. I've done it before. I did it in Kill Your Darlings, and I've done it a bit on stage, and I like working in accents, definitely.
And we got a question from a lady here. It's just towards the middle.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
My niece will be very excited that I got to see you today.
Excellent.
So I'll say hello to her from you.
Yes, please do.
My question is about A Young Doctor's Notebook.
Oh, cool.
I'm sorry that you're not going to be in a 3rd season if they do go ahead and do one, but obviously that involved the 2 of your characters, if we can call it that, working close together in the same room, in the same scene, and also the terminology and the Russian that was used. So could you talk a little bit of that, please?
Yeah, for people who haven't seen it, there's a show called The Young Doctor's Notebook, where me and John Hamm, thank you, awesome, where me and John Hamm play the same doctor at different times in his life, but sort of interacting with each other through flashbacks, and it's very, again, sort of quite dark comedy, but very, very funny and clever. And John's amazing. I mean, he's one of the, not only is he a lovely guy and very, very funny, and sort of, great to have on set, but he's also an amazing technician as an actor, because he's directed, a lot of Mad Men now as well. So he has a technical understanding of how filming works that most actors absolutely don't have, and he's brilliant. Like, he choreographed, before we had a stunt coordinator on the first series, he choreographed a fight scene for us, and he's great. The Russian terminology, I can talk about it, but I don't know if we did it very well. I've been told by several people since that our pronunciations of some things were not spot on. Particularly that just a couple of place names, I believe, was sort of not got right. But I think when you're making a comedy about the medical profession in Russia around the time of the revolution, that it takes some pretty good writers to make that funny and interesting the whole time anyway. So if a couple of the pronunciations were off, I'll have to apologize, because it's definitely the amount of research they did was fantastic, and it was probably just the actors then mispronouncing what they wrote. It's a fantastic. I'm sorry too that we probably won't be doing a 3rd series, but who knows.
Well, that's all the time we have for questions from the audience, I'm afraid.
Did I talk way too much in each answer? I'm so sorry.
Just enough. Just enough.
Thank you. Thank you very much, guys. I'm sorry I didn't get to answer all of your questions.
Well, let's thank Daniel for being here today. Can we give him a huge, huge, huge round of applause as he goes on?
And keep the round of applause as Daniel leaves the stage. Keep those round of applause going. Don't forget, up next we have the Mighty Morphing Power Rangers. We have 4 of the original cast of that series joining us up next here in the Platinum Theatre A.